Hi, I'm Bianca.
And I'm Khanna. And I came to this country with $200, went from sleeping in my car to starting a company, which then on partnered with a $2.5 billion company distributing Active Protect masks all over the world, marrying the woman of my dreams.
And we are the passionate few.
It's a microbe-resistant fabric. They embed zinc ions in the fabric, then it kills all sorts of bacteria and viruses, including COVID.
I've been a big fan of the Passionate Few, and I can't believe we're on the show.
Absolutely.
Omar just made us so comfortable. It's as if we've known him our entire lives. We told things in this interview that we've never shared before. I hope that our story inspires every one of you to rise up, especially when you've hit rock bottom. And just know that when you've hit rock bottom, there's only one way, and that's up. If we can do it, you can do it. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to this episode of The Passionate Few. It's your host, Omar, and today we have a special interview because we have not one, but two people being interviewed today. They are the co-founders of California Plastics, none other than Abhi and Bianca. This amazing couple is going to share with you their incredible story about coming to this country from India, how they both chased their dreams, made them happen, and also what they're working on now as it relates to things going on in the world that I think you guys will be blown away with. So with no further ado, thank you so much for being on the show today, Abhi and Bianca.
Thank you for having us, Omar.
So let's get right into it. Tell the audience, because a lot of people might not know your guys' story or what you do now. First, give us context, speed us up as to what you guys are doing now in business, which is amazing, serving people all over this country. And then we'll get into a little bit about your story. But let's talk about the products you're working on now and why it's so important now more than ever. I know Kramer just featured it on Mad Money. Let's get right into that.
So we're co-founders of California Plastics and PPE, and we're primarily a distribution company that sells engineering, specialty, and commodity thermoplastics. In Feb, when the pandemic happened, we saw that there was a need for PPE, and that's when we used our resources to start sourcing masks, face shields, hand sanitizers, initially to service our customers who are primarily in the plastics industry. And then as we started servicing them, we noticed later on that there was a big demand for it for hospitals, for universities, for schools. And we had the opportunity and the pleasure to service different small and big businesses, schools and universities with PPE. While we were in that journey, we didn't think that we were going to branch off and have a separate company altogether, which is now California Plastics and PPE. We were approached by Ascend Performance Materials, which is a 70-year-old company with $2.5 billion in annual sales, probably the biggest company you've never heard of, who was working, and we all use their products in every day, and they were working on this great technology called Active Protect, which initially was supposed to be a fabric that could kill bacteria and for sports garments. Now, when the pandemic happened, they invested millions of dollars and talked to their in-house scientists to check and see if this technology would be effective against COVID-19. And lo and behold, they had 500 different independent tests, including the Cambridge University, where it tested not only to kill bacteria, but the active technology actually tested to show greater than 99.99% efficacy against SARS that causes COVID-19. So Ascend decided to, they're primarily a specialty chemicals company, but they decided to make masks to test it out because there's a need. As CDC says, masks, slow the spread. So they decided to make a high quality product of Active Protect, and they reached out to us because we were in the same industry to see if we would want to partner with them. And proud to say that California Plastics was the first authorized distributor of this great technology, and we've been promoting it ever since then, and we're trying to get more people to try it out and slow the spread.
Yeah, and I love it. And these masks with the Active Protect from Ascend are badass. I've used them myself. They're breathable. The technology is phenomenal. I highly recommend them. And I know we also, for listeners, have a special promo in the description below people can check out. But I want to zoom in on your story because, if we go back a couple years, you probably never would have even thought that you'd have a company or be helping people in need with a pandemic or anything like that, right? You come from the humble beginnings in India. So can you share a little bit about your story and how you got to what you're doing today, both you and Bianca, but you first.
Absolutely. Thank you, Omar. So growing up, I had a great childhood. My parents got divorced when I was 3 years old. But at the same time, for whatever reason that happened, it turned out to be a blessing. My father raised us till we were 12 years old. And after 12, things at home were a little different when he married his wife then. But at the same time, we're comfortable. And that's when I was sent to boarding school. And then I tried to come back to India and things didn't work out, and landed up actually in the United States with $200 in my pocket, a plane ticket, and nothing to do. And I was, homeless at one point, sleeping in cars. Never thought that I would be running a company, let alone making this phenomenal product and trying to get this in front of everybody. And it was a struggle of ups and downs, different businesses. But all through that, I always had sales in my blood, and that was my kind of what's the word we're looking at?
Niche.
More than niche,
Specialty.
but my specialty,
Skill.
and it was more. It was the little gift that I had.
Gifted.
We all are gifted in some things, and thank you, God, for gifting me the gift of the gab. So
How old were you when you came to this country?
I was I was 21.
21 with $200.
With $200, a plane ticket. I remember the first thing I bought was a Nesquik strawberry milk, and I was like, cha-ching! Now I got $95 left. What am I gonna do next?
Yeah.
So when I first came, I got a job at a motel. I was cleaning rooms in exchange for room and board. Went from that to working in gas stations. I actually worked in Torrance at an AM PM, working from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And while I was doing that, I learned a lot of things which I use to date in my business, which I'd love to share with the audience. One analogy was just how the gas station business is, where you have, the gas station owners don't make a lot of money from the oil, but because when you go in and buy gas, but they make money from people when they go inside and buy candy, and that's where they make up the margins. So kind of we're in the distribution business, so we've got our products, which are our oils and gasolines, which are low margin, high volume, but they get the customers in. And then we've got our high margin products that once they come in, that they buy, which is our candy. And that's something you can apply to any business, just to have that mentality. Because I know when people are doing sales, they always want to focus on the low hanging fruit.
Right.
But sometimes you need that oil to get in to get that candy.
Yeah,
Something of that
makes
nature. But so I digress. But that was my journey from working in gas stations to getting back into a telemarketing job, starting my business. And that's when I met my lovely wife.
Wow.
In 2010.
2010.
2010.
Yes.
I think.
It's a decade.
Yeah, in 2010. I'm a guy with dates, right?
Yeah.
But I started in 2010. Unfortunately, due to the recession. Well, actually, I started the business in 2006, but in 2010 is when I got married. Unfortunately, at that time, the recession hit, and we lost our business to the ground. In fact, the irony is we lost our business to India, because the same services that we were providing over here were at 10 to the dollar in India.
Wow.
So it's funny now when you think about it, because I'm from India. It wasn't funny then. And here I am married to my beautiful wife, who's a successful actress in India. I convinced her to leave her career and she was doing movies till the date we got married.
Wow.
So she had work till the day she got married, but I convinced her to leave all that, come and join me in Hollywood. We used to
That's
live in.
where his expertise of sales come in.
Yeah, from Bollywood to Hollywood.
From Bollywood,
yeah.
so we actually
The
lived
ultimate sale.
Absolutely. So we lived in Hollywood and on Sunset and La Brea, and our business is going down. So now I'm married to this beautiful wife, and where business is down, what do we do? So I started looking at penny savers, started looking at ads, and I saw an ad on Craigslist which said polymer sales rep, make $150,000. No idea what polymer is, and just went in and started and applied for the job. And they gave me the job, which is really awesome. And then they hired another MBA as well, who in 4 months, he landed working for me. I became their sales manager because I'd experience of picking up the phone and calling and just going out and talking to people and just using common sense, which is I use till date.
And before you started or applied for that job and started there, what were some of the things you tried after the gas station? Because I know you mentioned too you were living in your car at one point.
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about that phase right before you got into that polymer opportunity.
That was a very dark phase. Thank God I met my wife then, because that would have been tough. And my heart goes out to people who go through ups and downs and lose jobs. So it's hard. And I think a lot of times people focus on, once you lose your job, it's like the carpet has been lifted. So if you're an engineer, then you're so used to being an engineer, you cannot try something different.
Right.
One of the blessings of being in sales is, I could potentially go and sell anything for the most part. So, at that time, going back before the plastics opportunity, I had no jobs, I had no skills, I had no resume. So I actually had to work in before working in gas stations, I was actually sleeping in my car in a Nissan Sentra, 96 Nissan Sentra, homeless with no money. And the first job I got when I came to Long Beach, I remember, was a job as a bouncer at a strip club. Now imagine Indian culture is a little different, right?
Right.
And imagine calling home and say, hey, mom and dad, what do you do in the U.S.? Well, I'm just a bouncer at a strip club. Not going very well.
Yeah.
But that was the only job I could get. It was the only cash job, and worked there, and then worked my way up into telemarketing, and then got into plastics.
Beautiful. What about, I believe you told me there was an incident one time at the gas station, or a couple incidents, where it was like held up or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So plenty of times when, so I worked at a gas station, not just in LA, but also in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And there was one time where I was working in a gas station. This gas station was next to a bar, which was a bar where the gangs, it was, I think, the Vice Lords, and I'm not sure what the other gang affiliation was, but it was like their spot. And this was the only gas station right next to it. So, I'm young, I loved hip hop, so I would dress up in my FUBU gear just to fit in. And in reality, I just didn't want to get shot. Because you would hear in the news that, Indians and Pakistanis working in gas stations getting shot. But I blended in, and I was, sitting and kind of hanging out, running the gas station in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's when there was a shootout a few times. And then they came in and they took refuge to inside a gas station. And I kind of shut the door and got the thing under control.
Wow.
And then even even in Long Beach, when I was working at the club, my first, second, or third day at the job, that club's not there anymore because it actually got shut down from a shootout.
Yeah.
Where I remember showing up and I was standing outside because, I'm a tall, big guy, that I was hired as security. And they wanted me to check IDs, and they also wanted to pat people down to check for weapons. And I had a very thick Indian accent. I think I still have it now, but I had a very thick Indian accent then. I was like, you really want me to pat the weapons? And what do I do if they have a weapon?
Yeah.
They're like, well, you just tell them to politely leave it in their car. And then he goes, where's your piece? I said, what do you mean piece?
Yeah.
He goes, no, I thought he meant suitcase, because that's in India, piece is a piece.
Yeah.
So where's your piece? I said, no, I don't have a piece. He said, are you sure you don't have one? And so it just so happened that the next day I didn't show up to work because I felt a little scared.
Yeah.
And that's the night that club got shot up and shut down. So,
You're kidding me.
kid you not, it was called, I don't want to mention the name, but
Yeah.
it was in North Long Beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how old were you at this time? This is your early 20s.
This is 22.
Yeah.
22.
And then what age were you when you met Bianca? Because it seems like that was part of the turning point in your life. Right?
Absolutely. It was 30 when I met Bianca. It's a great story. When we met, I'd done my business. I'd made a little bit of money. I had enough money to save up to get a ticket to go back to India for
What industry was that business?
That was in telecommunications. So
Okay.
we were reselling long distance services, which Vonage and VoIP came, and now it's for free. So you can't really sell that to businesses.
Right.
But that's when it was a good business that we had in Hollywood. And I went back to India one time to go attend a cousin's wedding. And this was after 5 years. I hadn't seen any family member. This is me coming back. I'd made a little bit of money, so I was like, all right, you get that confidence. You want to go back and you forgive everything.
And you want to share your happiness.
You want to share your happiness. I forgave my stepmother, I forgave my dad. I just went back and I was like, you're at. So at that time, and they were very nice. And at that time, one of my friends who was from LA, who happened to be in the film industry in LA, knew Bianca.
Yeah, he
And
was a common friend.
It was a common friend.
Yeah.
And he invited, and I just landed from the airport, and I remember I was wearing flip-flops, a Laker jersey, and track pants. And he's like, let's go to this place. A friend of mine, she's an actress, and she's having a birthday. And I think this was the first time.
I met him, yeah. So I met him on my birthday, and that was, I think in 10 years, that was the first time I was free from work.
Yeah.
And my friends were like, Bianca, we need to do something, it's your birthday. And I'm like, I'm not into parties. I'm not into like hanging out too much with friends.
Yeah.
But that day she convinced me, one of my friends, and she said, let's be a small group, but go out for a dinner.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, okay. So I called my friend Abzi that he's talking about, one of our common friend. And he called me. He said, I have a friend coming down from LA. Do you mind if he joins us for your dinner? So I said, yeah, I don't mind as long as he's dressed well.
That's your one condition.
Yeah. I mean, just dress well.
So
he walks in with the flip-flop, Laker gear, top to bottom.
Purple and
I'm
gold.
like, purple and gold. I was like, wow.
So I walk up and I go in and I see this beautiful girl, and obviously I'm smitten right away. So I go to my friend, I go, okay, she had another friend of hers. So what I did is I went and started dancing with her friend, and we started waltzing, and I did a few moves that I learned while I was
She's good in dancing.
in the clubs of LA. And she thought that I was interested in her friend, But even a friend knew I was doing it to boo her.
Yeah.
And that's the night I came back, and I remember I was like, this is the girl I'm going to marry.
That first night.
The first night,
On her
and
birthday.
I just
Wow.
knew it. And it's weird. I don't know how it happened. And I remember telling some people about it. Then I get out of here. She's way out of it. I mean, I was 385 pounds
Yeah.
at that point, and she was, she was she.
Yeah. A fraction of that.
Yeah, a fraction of that, right? So we met, and we started off a long distance, and then I convinced her, and we got married, and she came over here.
That's beautiful. And what's cool about it is that you guys both kind of pursued your own unorthodox paths. I know, Bianca, you had your own journey pursuing your dreams. Take us back to kind of your childhood and your version of growing up, pursuing everything that you did, getting into Bollywood and making films, and then ultimately meeting Abby. Take us back. What was that like?
So I was born in the same city as Abby, and I was raised by my grandparents. Unfortunately, my parents didn't want to raise me, and don't know the reason till date. But I think it happened for good. Like Ed Milet says, life happens for you, not to you.
Yes.
So I strongly believe in it. I think for greater good, I was blessed to be raised by my grandparents. And I think till about three years old, third grade, I was in Bombay, and then we moved to a different state, Gujarat. And my grandfather just wanted to retire and have a slow life. So we moved to a smaller town called Valsad. So I grew up over there in a very small town. My growing up, I think I have some beautiful memories because my grandfather was great in painting. He was just artist by heart. Like, he loved dancing, he loved Bollywood music. My grandmother was into a lot of reading and music stuff. So I remember, every evening, me and my grandfather would literally play 1 hour of Bollywood music and dance on it. And I think that led my interest to like movies and dancing and anything to do with art.
Yeah.
So I finished my high school, and I told my grandfather that I want to go back to Bombay because I knew I wanted to do something more than just studying and doing a normal job. I knew I was not made for a 9-to-5 job. Somewhere it wasn't there in me. I just wanted to do something more creative. So my grandfather saw that. He said, "Okay, but then you have to get your degree. And no matter what you do later in life, at least get backup plan." I know you're talented.
Yeah.
I know you're talented. I know that you're good in dancing, but education-wise, we need to have something on paper.
Right.
So I got into banking and insurance, and he makes fun of me till date because when I came here, I did not know how to write.
It was
a
just a
check.
paper degree. I had to show her to balance a checkbook.
Wow.
She was not interested in banking.
I was not.
She
but I
danced, modeled her way through college. And
Yeah.
she actually paid for college.
I even paid for my
By
college,
through her
my
dancing
school.
and
How,
modeling.
how old were you when you got into acting or started auditioning, or how did that work?
I was 15. I was 15, and
Self-made.
I started doing backup dancing, and with local singers that you see here, Bollywood movies. They sing songs. The actors are not
shows.
singing songs. Those are the singers, professional singers.
Right.
Singing songs, and they're just lip syncing, right?
Right.
So those singers would perform, and I was one of those girls who would dance behind them, like just cheerleader type. So I started auditioning for, I think, the dance group in my college, and that's how I got into dancing. So from my college group, they introduced me to an outside dance company that they were hiring dancers, so I auditioned there, I got selected there, and my attendance was really poor. So every morning I would get up, walk, and I didn't even have that much money because I would just walk to the train station 3 miles literally every day, 5 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
I would walk to the train station, catch a train. If you ever get a chance, just YouTube Mumbai trains and you will see what chaotic the train stations are. It's not like here, very polite, people let you go in.
Good morning, Bianca.
You first,
Come right
no,
in.
No. You get pushed into it.
Yeah.
And by the time you get out of the train, you've already got like 10 massages, right?
Yeah.
So I obviously go to college, attend like two classes, and then go back to my rehearsals. And I had some lovely friends who helped me through the education, like during my college time to get through the whole process of like getting degree. So when I got into dancing, that's when I got into modeling. And I remember at the age of 16, I'm doing a maternity shoot for a maternity wear, wearing long gowns and putting a pillow in my belly. And I have no idea what motherhood is like. I have no idea what expressions to give. But I was tall, so they liked it. I'm like, okay, you're perfect for maternity. I have no idea what they saw in me. But I was 16. I'm like, my face was like a baby, and I'm carrying a baby in the pictures. So, and that led to movies. I think that gave me a lot of exposure, a lot of confidence to be out there and put yourself out there. By nature I'm an introvert, so just when it's in front of camera I was very different. That's when I realized that there's something in there. I need to explore this.
That's where you come alive.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first film and what that was like for you? The first one?
Oh, my first film, actually it wasn't a full-fledged film. One of our, from a very popular choreographer in Southern movie industry, he said that Bianca, and I was doing backup dancing in that song, and he saw me, he said, Bianca, you should, he said you should try into movies as a lead actress. So I said, I have never faced camera, or whatever camera I've faced is like in backup dancing, and I don't know if I can understand the language because it's different language. The regional language, in India we have a lot of different regional languages, and so this was one of the regional language that I was shooting for. And he said, let's try it. Let me give you one shot, one music piece for the song, and we'll do a solo shot. And I was almost in my tears. I was like, oh, there's no way that I can do it. I can't pull it off. And the moment director said, action, and I started crying. So I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But the actor of the film, he's a superstar. He said, Bianca, you're doing good. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing good. And I'm just not that confident because now all of a sudden everybody's looking at me, right?
Right, the pressure's on,
Yeah, so that took a lot of courage just to be in that space of like, okay, I can convince myself to be out there and let the world see what I have to perform. When I was performing, I literally forgot the camera was on in like 5-10 minutes, and the shot was very good. And he recommended, why don't you get your portfolio done? And portfolio cost lakhs and lakhs of rupees, like thousands and thousands of dollars. And I couldn't afford to do any of that. So I had, because of my modeling experience in the past, one of my photographer, he said, Bianca, I can do that for you. We were supposed to shoot a photo shoot for a different brand, and he was kind enough to sneak in those pictures to me, and I was able to get into movies.
Wow, so you guys both had unconventional paths where you were uncertain of what to do, how to do things, but you just kept nudging in the direction of those fears and insecurities.
I mean, whatever came in front of you, we took it, because it's like this: when you're a beggar, you don't have choice. So
True.
So that's what happened literally with me, because whatever was coming in front of me, I was like, okay, I took that as an opportunity. And I'm spiritual at heart. I'm a big believer. Whatever happens, happens for good. And the tough times, I'm sure everyone has gone through some tough times in their lives, but the time is going to pass. It's always going to get better. So that's a temporary phase. So I knew that this is temporary. Mentally, I was already very successful. Mentally, I was already a superstar. Mentally, I was already somewhere where I did not.
Your current reality was
sharing a room with 16 girls. So
but in your mind, you were a superstar.
But I had a house, and I had a car, and I had like chauffeur driver, and mentally I'm already there.
The funny thing is, she actually envisioned, she had in her little cubicle in that home that she was staying, she had a picture of a convertible car. She envisioned that. When we got married, I drove a convertible car.
The same,
similar, exact like
same
that.
car.
Wow.
And I learned driving in that car.
And so she goes from in India to like learn how to drive a car in a nice convertible car. And I think what got us together, and where she looked beyond my weight, and I'm so grateful that she did, is that we both had our own struggles. We both self-made in our own way, and we just never gave up. We just kept, life kept throwing curveballs at us, and we just kept fighting. And till date, we're actually, she's an introvert. I'm a bit of an extrovert, I would say.
A bit of an?
But
Understated.
absolutely.
Because of our struggles.
Because of the struggles.
My struggles were obviously local in India, in a different state, obviously with no family, hardly any money.
Yeah.
And emotional support was immense. Like I
Yeah.
had loads of emotional support from my grandfather and my grandmother, but they were old and I can't expect them to pay for my bills, right?
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
Right.
you know, you want to be independent at the same time. You don't want to put pressure on them.
That's right.
I want them to feel like they made a right decision by sending me to a different state. So that worry, I always had that in back of my head that, you know, I didn't want to put that kind of pressure on them, but at the same time, I didn't want to go back as a failure. I
Right.
wanted to do something with my life and go in the right direction. I mean, if it doesn't work out, then well and good, but at least I wanted to try it.
Right. And
What
what
it
was it
was.
when you met Abby that made you go like, I like this guy?
So, so Abby, I don't know, we connected emotionally. Just I could see that there is more than what he's trying to show. He's a happy-go-lucky guy if you see him otherwise.
Yeah.
But I could see somewhere deep down that he's had his own struggle, and I think slowly when we started talking with each other and getting to know each other more, he opened up. He shared. He was like an open book to me. So for me to, for somebody to be so vulnerable in front of me, I've never seen that kind of, honesty in men that I have come across in movie industry. I've come across, people who are just, I don't know, I would
Always
say made up.
want something
or just
They're two-faced,
have
different
that.
guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They have an
not
agenda
being
or-
honest.
yeah.
Right.
And that's what made me. I was intrigued. Like when I met him, he was so warm. He was so nice. He was willing to listen. Now it's a different story. After marriage, he doesn't want to listen.
Okay, willing to listen. We would talk for 17 hours straight. Back when
16
BlackBerry
hours?
was there.
Oh, BlackBerry, BBM.
Messenger. Yeah. So we would talk a lot. I listened a lot. You know, it's
Yeah, and
Obviously,
I wish I knew that he wouldn't listen to me after marriage. But yeah, we talked like
10 years.
hours and hours and hours. And
Yeah.
I called my grandmother up because she knows everything about my life. So I called her up and I said, I met this guy named Abhimanyu and, Abby in short. And, I think it's beyond just liking. And she's like, send me his picture. And I did. And she's like, wow.
I wore a black jacket and I lost a little bit of weight, but I was still big compared for Indian guys. Most average Indian guys.
And
are
I
not.
was 125. So,
125, so we connected.
So we were like completely opposite visually,
Yeah.
but
Abby was like three of
emotionally.
you.
Yeah, three of me. So when my parents met him, they were like, wow. Like literally went, wow.
Hey, he's a nice guy, but come on.
Yeah, no, not that. But I'm like, they were not expecting, right?
Sure,
so,
yeah.
So when they met him and when my grandmother got to know him, she realized why. I didn't even have to tell her why. She knew why. So
Wow.
And Bianca's really close to her grandfather, and I think sometimes I've reminded you of your grandfather.
yeah,
as well.
my grandmother used to say, I think after my grandfather passed away in 2007, I met him in 2010. So when he passed away in 2007, when my grandmother met him for the first time, she said, I don't know, but somewhere he has that, that nature of your grandfather. And that meant so much to me because that's what I saw in him. Like, you say
You felt in
always,
him.
Yeah.
you fall for you want father like, you always fall for a guy who's like a little bit like your father.
Right.
And to me, my grandfather was my father. I called him Papa. So I saw that in him, and even she saw that. So I was quite happy about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then once you guys connected, I know it was pretty quick for you, Abby. You guys got together, and then how did that evolution happen for the business? Did you guys start the business once you guys got together, or from marriage to starting the company, what happened sort of
So
next?
it's actually a very long journey, almost a 10-year journey. So I started off working for a company as a sales manager. Unfortunately, that company shut down after a couple of years, and the owner passed away. God bless us. So a great guy, Mr. Omar. He taught me a lot about plastics, especially a newcomer who wasn't from the industry. He taught me what to say, what to study, and how to fit in.
And this was the job you applied for in the wanted ad, right?
This was on the
Polymer
wanted
job.
ad. So I worked there for a few years, and then when that company shut down, the largest. I got hired by a company that is actually North America's biggest specialty engineering plastics distributor. Worked there for about 6.5 years, and I think I learned a lot of that company. It was a great company to work for. I got to meet Ascend through that company, who we're now partnered with, of course. And it was getting to a point where I reached my, I think we both had, I reached my top potential with that company, and I think it was just time, because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. You live in California. If you make an X amount of money in California, it's not the same what you would make in Indiana.
Sure.
Or in Michigan.
Absolutely.
And that's one challenge that I always had with, and anybody who's living in California, where I want to provide for my wife. She's left everything in India. She's come over here.
I would like to add something to that. Sorry, but I think he's very ambitious, and I knew that when I met him. Like he would not stop. Like this is not it for him. It's like you say, what is your goal in life? What's your end goal? There is no end goal. He wants to keep going, keep going, and then once we are done with our goals, then he wants to help other people. And we both are on the same page on that.
Yeah.
And that's why he's talking about.
There's always
Indian Grant Cardone.
Indian Grant Cardone, yeah, Grant Cardone. If you're watching, I'd love to be in a room with you someday. But no, Grant Cardone is 10X. It's a great book. I'm glad you mentioned Grant Cardone. I always joke that we're the Indian Grant Cardone, Elena Cardone, not because I'm a sales guy and my wife is an actress. We have a beautiful daughter. One more to go. Catching up to you, Grant. But just the fact that so much I've learned from 10X, and I say go 100X, and that's how. And not to take anything away from 10X, but I love what Grant says about your goals need to be bigger than what you think your goals need to be, right? And something of that nature. And how there's no shortage of money, there's no shortage of abundance, there's just a shortage of ideas.
And courage.
Yeah. So initially went from having your back against the wall, coming with $200 with nothing, to now being an entrepreneur in a company. And just by nature, I wanted to do more. I felt like I had more to give. I wanted to serve more. And that's when we founded California Plastics. I remember Bianca was like, we took the plunge, and I'm so grateful for my wife, because it is so important for all you entrepreneurs. Don't just jump into starting a business. You have to have a plan. And we thought about it. We had a plan. She saw that it was a great job. I was comfortable, but she knew that I had that itch. It was just bothering me. I had to just go out and just let loose in the world. And we started saving money, and Bianca kept, she wasn't that actress who people might think that wants to spend money and buy all these crazy bags and this and that. But she actually was a homemaker. She is a homemaker. She kept us on a budget, eating at home, living a simple life, and we were able to make that decision to invest and start in a company. So we started California Plastics with a very little investment, and I know she gifted me a Ford F-150, which I love, because that was the first truck I got. And I remember my first customer was right after I left my job, where I worked for 6.5 years. Now I've been in the industry for about 9.5 years already. So I went to one of my customers and I asked him, look, I've started this company. We're young, but we're hungry, and we'd love to compete for some of your business. And they gave us an opportunity while I was there, saying, okay, well, I need something right now. So while I was there, I took a minute, luckily I had some sources, sourced the material, drove to San Diego, and LA traffic.
Yeah.
Nobody likes
horrendous.
Driving. Yeah. Horrendous, right? But now I love traffic, because I'm actually driving to do a purpose. It's crazy. Which is another story, because I should never like driving. And part of my job is I have to drive a lot. But now when I drive for my business, I get excited. I'm in my truck, I'm making a delivery, I'm serving somebody. I really like that. So I went from driving to San Diego, picking up that pallet, putting it in the back of my truck, delivering the material to my customer. It's pellets. This is to kind of, we're in the business of injection, plastic pellets. And
that's what plastic, just to give the audience context, that's what plastic is made out of, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So
right. The mold, and it's molded into whatever product you want.
These plastic pellets are then injection molded into any parts you want to make, whether it's interiors of automotive, a cell phone case, the camera you're looking at, a lot of different parts, right?
And I want to zoom in on plastic, because me and you had a lovely conversation off camera prior about some of the misconceptions about plastic, right?
Right.
People recycle plastic. There's a lot of good that people do with plastic.
Right.
But there's also stigmas attached to plastic, right?
Right.
It's wasteful. It causes pollution. All this types of stuff. You made some interesting points. Would you care to kind of share a little bit of that great insight about actually the utility of plastics, and kind of how people have misused plastic, and that's kind of given it a bad rap more than the actual value that plastic has in the marketplace?
No, absolutely. And first of all, I think plastic is fantastic. It really is a necessity.
Yeah,
It really
he
is.
says that. It's everywhere.
It's a
Plastic is
hashtag that
fantastic.
I think I started, but I'll take credit for it anyway.
Plastic is
So
fantastic.
plastic is fantastic. Obviously, when I first started off in plastics, I'm just trying to make a living, right? But as I got to know the products we're making, the things we're doing with plastics are just phenomenal. If you look at where plastics industry has been in the last 10 to 20 years, we've worked on replacing a lot of metal into plastics. So plastic being lighter than metal lowers the carbon footprint. Metal is heavier to transport. All the electric vehicles, why are they more fuel efficient initially? I'm talking about just the gasoline vehicles, is by making them lighter. So we switched metals into plastic and made the vehicles lighter, making them more fuel efficient. And even if you look at now in the EV companies, which we work with a lot in e-mobility, we use a lot of thermoplastics to create different kinds of automobiles, trucks, where we make the equipment lighter, so there's less of a carbon footprint in the world. Also, I think I don't think it's a plastics problem. I think it's a people problem, because we haven't figured out how to, with the bags. We haven't figured out what's really going on with the bags. There's a way to recycle it, but it's just, maybe a government or a company would not bother, right? But if you look on the flip side, if you didn't have plastics, just look at what's going on right now in the pandemic. Talk about the ventilators, they made out of thermoplastics. You want to get a vaccine? Well, the syringe is made out of engineering plastic. The face masks are made out of plastics. Face shields are made out of plastics. If you go in a hospital, look around. Most of the items there are made out of engineering plastics, versus the traditional alternative, which used to be metal, or in some cases there was no alternative. So really, plastics gets a bad rep, but if you really look around, there's a lot of good that plastic does more than the bad. You just have to kind of dig in deeper.
Oh, it makes total sense. And when you got into it, I know you probably had no idea you'd work with some of the clients you do. And I know, some of the stuff is private with clients, but Can you give the audience context as to, because this is a multi-million-dollar operation with all these different things. Can you give the audience context as to some of the clients you've worked with, and whatever level of vagueness or specificity you feel comfortable with, just so the audience gets a sense of just how much utility exists with plastics and with what you guys do at California Plastics.
So if you go inside your car and you look at a cup holder, that's made out of a thermoplastic. So I can't mention the name of the company who we supply, or who we actually spec in our material and supply material for the cup holders, but it's a company whose stock has gone real crazy lately. So I'm sure people can put attention to that. And they have a really cool CEO who I admire. So, but that's one part of it. But what's really cool is we get to work in the agriculture industry, everything from like just fruit baskets. How are your fruits transported? How do you keep them fresh? So strawberry baskets, right? Those are made out of plastics as well. So we supply to companies who make injection molded baskets for the agriculture industry to keep food fresh. And so have you. So there's various applications we work on, all size applications.
And then once the pandemic hit, I'm sure it was alarming to the whole world. But it also created a huge opportunity for you guys, in that you guys have the skill sets and the distribution to help facilitate the millions of people in need, especially right now. Can you talk about what that pivot was like in your business, and sort of what you guys pivoted to because of that?
So honestly, I think it was me who was looking for a mask on Amazon, right? And in February, Jan, Feb, I was looking for a mask because I knew that we need to start wearing masks. I didn't want to. I had 2.5-year-old daughter, so I didn't want to risk it. So.
And this is February of 2020.
March
2020.
This is right before it hit.
And so I was looking for masks, and I couldn't find any. I ordered a couple of them. They were expensive. They did not show up. The order kept getting canceled.
Yeah.
So I said, Abby, I'm like, we need to find source mask because we don't have any.
It was her idea, and then what happened? I was making a sales call in Arizona, I believe, or I think it was in Nevada, or probably Nevada.
Yeah.
And I actually took this from your podcast, so I got to give you credit for that.
Oh, appreciate
It's about taking an Uber drive to a sales call
Yeah.
and getting more stuff done. So you're spending that $100.
Yeah.
It's for all you entrepreneurs. Listen to Omar. You spend $100 on an Uber ride, and you make some phone calls. You talk to someone. You get some emails out. It pays 10x and sometimes 100x, depending on what you close, what the margins are.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I was in an Uber ride and driving to my customer, and I noticed that the Uber ride would not stop complaining about how he cannot get a hand sanitizer. And so I remember while leaving, my wife was complaining about no mask. My Uber ride was complaining about no hand sanitizer. I was like, well, all the factories are shut down because the pandemic had just started. let me just see if I can source masks. And that's when we got really lucky. We found one of our suppliers who was next to our warehouse, who was actually importing masks and hand sanitizers and face shields. And initially what we did is we just started servicing our customers. A lot of our customers in other states at that time were getting letters from the state where they had to provide masks to their employees if they wanted to keep their business open, or they would get fined.
Wow.
Now the problem is, where do you get these masks? Because Amazon's giving you a 7-week, I think it was an 8-week lead time, and they want to keep their business going. In one case, there's a company that has about 15 different factories, and they actually saw the same thing, the same need, and they wanted to make masks. But they didn't have masks to give to their employees who were making masks. So that's when we sent out an email to all our plastics industry customers. So within a couple of hours, we sold thousands of masks. So we saw that there's a need for masks in our plastics community.
So it's a funny story on that. When we received those mask packages, we were actually acting like as if there's some diamonds and gold in it, and smuggling it to
Yeah, everyone's trying to take some for their own.
I know,
Yeah.
I was scared. I was like, I don't know if I can sleep tonight because we have so many masks in our garage.
Yeah, and it was really hard to source as well, because keep in mind there's a big gap in supply chain, because all of a sudden, there's no distribution channel for PPE. Or there was, but the traditional distribution channels are shut because China had closed all their borders. Right. So there's very few masks coming in, and everybody wanted them. They're really hot items.
And what's PPE, just so the audience has context if they're wondering?
Personal protective equipment. So in that, you have masks, you have face shields, anything that protects yourself from bacteria, from viruses, from funguses. So we focus on masks, we focus on face shields, nitrile gloves. Goggles, gowns, medical gowns. We got into a lot of things. We helped out a lot of universities. We had the opportunity to help out a lot of clinics. We were helping out our neighbors' businesses. So we originally we started off just with servicing the plastics industry.
Customers and friends
then
and family.
We were trying to help, and we wanted to serve people. So we were so scared, because we do have a warehouse where we stock our plastics. We're a distribution company, but this was like gold. So we actually literally kept it at our garage. And we would spend nights.
It was very.
So we would put our mask on, put the shields on, because this stuff is coming from China. So we're scared too.
After putting my daughter to sleep, me and Abby would go down to the garage, like literally watch her on camera while we are wearing masked up
and fulfilling orders.
And sanitizing the boxes, washing hands, and like individually packing boxes.
Yeah.
And there were thousands of boxes that we were doing, like literally sleep at. Till 3 a.m. in the morning, we were packaging, and 5 a.m. he's running to these people and dropping.
And in some cases, I was making.
Boxes.
I remember there's some universities in LA where I love my truck, and so I was going and making the rounds, and I was delivering material and masks every day to different businesses, because I really felt like they need this, and it didn't even come from a. I mean, we all do business to actually make money, but this was something where it was like a calling for us. We're like, we got to help people out. We got that energy at 2 a.m, we're packing boxes. Then 6 a.m, we're going and making the deliveries. And now we're sourcing it. And it got real tricky, because we never just had one supply. So we often would have to go to different suppliers. And a lot of times it would be going to places in LA, which like South Central, where I would never go otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some parts, I'm sure, in every city that are good and bad.
Yeah.
And I'm going out there sourcing masks. And I remember in one case, one of my customers wanted KN95 masks because he had to give these to the government in Mexico, just because they were so desperate for masks that they would, in return for masks, they would allow them to do their business.
Wow.
So I remember going to the warehouse, picking up these KN95s, and there's another funny story about that, where I showed up and I actually had to Zelle the money to the supplier, and when I showed up, he actually gave it to somebody else because they offered him $400 more. So now I have to go find another supplier, get the mask. Meanwhile, I've got my customer, who I sell plastics to, not masks, calling me, Abby, I need to get these masks to the border, because we need to give these masks to this company, to this manufacturing unit. And I was able to source and drive back and just hustle and get there. So,
those are like tough times, because initially, obviously, we all were scared, right? We did not know how this thing spreads. And so every time he stepped out, I was like... I was praying in front of God, like just sitting for like hours, like praying, like, please bring him home, healthy and safe.
Please wear your mask.
And now that we're more aware of it, like this maintenance.
And we still do a protocol. We still do a protocol.
But it was scary initially. Like we all were in the same boat. So
And then as I was doing that, I started socializing. So I'm like, well, now it's coming to a point where a lot of people need it. And then things got a little better. And that's when Ascend reached out to us, where they had invented this great technology. And that's when we did the tie-up and we became the first authorized distributors of Active Protect.
And then I know also with your guys' company, California Plastics, you guys distribute these masks with the Active Protect technology. You have a couple different masks. Can you show us and give the audience a little bit of context as to some of the functionality of both these masks?
Absolutely. So we've got the Active Protect black fabric masks. These are really comfortable, breathable, reusable masks that, because the technology uses zinc ions naturally embedded in the polymer, and thus making it antimicrobial, killing bacteria as well as viruses, including COVID-19, it doesn't really go away. So there's no single-use issue. It's reusable. These black masks, you can actually, which are really, they look good too, right?
Yeah,
They're comfortable, breathable. Nylon look good too. And they're actually made of the same fabric that's used for making high-end women's lingerie.
Oh, wow.
So that can just tell you, nylon being a hygroscopic material is the softest material you could use. So, there's another funny analogy of, people wearing panties and masks, but what I really think is masks are the new condoms. And here's why. Like in the 70s, before HIV, also a virus, and now this is going to be a little risque topic, but it's important, because if you really think about it, in the 70s, before HIV came out, people were not wearing condoms. And then people started protecting themselves by wearing condoms against a virus. Well, now with COVID-19, also a virus, if CDC says wear a mask that helps you slow the spread, isn't it a no-brainer to wear a mask?
I mean, it protects you as well as,
And the other good benefit is when you're wearing a mask, you're not just protecting yourself, but you're also protecting others. So we've got the Active Protect cloth masks. These are reusable. And then we have the non-woven masks, which is made from a different item. And they also have the active technology. The active technology, as you know, is tested to kill the virus.
Yeah, and these are
reusable as well.
Yeah, and I've actually used these personally myself. I love these. They have like a mint, almost like a minty, refreshing type of scent. And they're also, what I love about them is I know that I was reading some literature and they were saying that globally over 100 billion masks are used a month.
Right.
And they're not reusable. So people are using them, throwing them. And also you had mentioned too in a great conversation we had about the fact that people are putting them down, kind of touching them.
Yeah, just
Can you
like
give
this.
a little bit of context?
Absolutely. So I think all of us have seen this. Everybody is driving and they'll take their mask off and they'll hang it in the rearview mirror, right?
Right.
And then they'll take it back on, put it back on. So you use the sanitizer.
even in the restaurant.
Or if you're in a restaurant, you're having dinner, you take your mask off, you put it on the table, you enjoy your dinner, and now you pick it up and you put that same contaminated mask back on. This is an antimicrobial mask. I can put it in my pocket, I can put it on the table, I can drop it on the floor, pick it back up, and put it in my mouth. The technology, the zinc ions that are in the polymer, kill the virus, kill bacteria.
Kill the bacteria or germs, whatever
or germs,
it comes with.
all the microbes.
And also, I know that they're very affordable, right? A lot of people, are offering masks at various price points, and a lot of people have a hard time making decisions on, where to go, what kind of mask should I get? Is it worth paying a little bit more for, something that's multiple, in quality, or should I kind of go for the cheapest so I have a lot? What advice do you have for people on that front? And where does Active Protect masks rank in terms of affordability and price point for people?
Absolutely, and I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Phil McDivitt, the CEO of Ascend Performance Materials, who wanted to make this technology affordable. When we were starting out, we were trying to figure out what's a good price point for these masks. And if you look at this box right here, this has a box of 25 reusable Active Protect masks, and you can buy them on our website for $59. That's, I think, approximately right around $2.20 a mask, which now you can reuse up to 10 times. So it's when you say 10 times, does not mean that just for 10 tries, but you can actually wash it.
Hand wash it
10 times. So essentially, for example, my first Active Protect mask I had on, I had it for 3 weeks, and I remember going on a hike. So after you get on a hike, it got a little dirty, dusty, and I washed it and I reused it. And I actually ended up using until I lost it.
Yeah.
I used that mask pretty much. So that's just how affordable these are. But not just even these. Even if you look at the black fabric mask, which we're now, I'm proud to say, California Plastics is the exclusive distributor of the Active Protect black cloth mask worldwide. The only place you can get these are on our website, california-plastics.com. And if you want a 10% discount, make sure you enter the code PASSION for all the audience, for all you listeners. And so these masks are $15. And now you can machine wash them 50 times. 50 times.
Wow, without losing the effect.
So the zinc is embedded in the polymer, right? So the efficacy does not go away. Right? So they're really affordable if you think about it. So we also have the Active Protect Sports Gator that we're the exclusive distributors for. And these are really cool. I like to run, I like to jog. A little story, I used to weigh 385 pounds. And when I met my wife, she introduced me to running. And I started off by just walking a step and then running a mile to actually land up running 6 half marathons and ran the LA Marathon in 2017.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you. And it's really funny. I don't look like a marathon runner. In fact, when we went to get the certificate, when we went to get the registration, everyone was looking at her, like, what are you doing? And she said, no, it's for him. And which is another story. But so, when you're running, I signed up for some half marathons this year, but I was really nervous because I'm like, well, how am I going to run in public? Because a mask is great when you're walking or you're walking your dog and you're going on about your business. But when you're being active, you're playing sports, you need something that's comfortable and it's going to stay on. And that's when we got these gaiters made from the same Active Protect technology. Really affordable, $20, right? Again, free shipping on all our orders, of course, over $50. Available on our website exclusively through California Plastics. Made from the same Active Protect technology that you can wear. And while you're playing sports, if you're going hunting, if you're going fishing, if you're going running, and it stays on, it's comfortable, it's breathable, it doesn't smell. Because how many times you're wearing a mask and you're doing some exercise and in the gym and now your mask smells, you still have to have the mask on, right? But you don't want to. And that's when people just take the mask off. But if you have a technology that kills the bacteria, makes it odorless, you can actually leave it on for a long period of time. So when you're looking at all these kids playing sports, they would love to have a gaiter like this, which protects them, and at the same time is comfortable to wear.
And also, I think all this thing is possible because of our wonderful team that we work with, and people supporting California Plastics, our customers, our suppliers, and wonderful people who are delivering our products to every customer that we have. So I think a huge shout out to them and thank you. Without them, there's no California
We're really
Plastics.
grateful. Our motto of our company is California Plastics, Be Human. I heard when I was in plastics that there's two kings to distribution. It's as a distributor, you have the supplier and you have a customer. But our feeling is it's not just two kings. I think we're here to serve everybody. So we're here to serve our truck drivers, we're here to serve our freight people, our customer service rep, our logistics, and we're grateful. Our warehouse people, everyone from even the UPS delivery driver, they all make this possible that we can get products like this to the customer, to the end users. So we're really grateful for them. And I'm also really grateful to my wife who has taken on the role of customer service for our company. Mm-hmm. And I think she gets that from her experience working in a place you wouldn't think of an actress would work. And I'll let her talk to you about that.
Yeah, so when I moved to US, obviously, when our business was outsourced to India, we both were looking for jobs. And I was like, what better way to, introduce myself to American culture than doing a sales job in Zara. So I applied for Zara, made up a resume saying I did so much work in India in this store, that store, wherever I have shopped.
You were now the sales manager.
I worked there. And the manager was very impressed, so she hired me. I worked there for 1 year in 2012.
Yeah, and she also won some sales awards.
Yeah,
wow.
That was one of the top salesperson, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know how
it
that
rubbed
happened.
off.
And then that's been my dream, right? My dream has been how do I, I've been given the skill set of sales, and my goal eventually, once my business settled, or even in the future, is to start a program where I can help people who are introverts to become good salespeople. Because I really think that's one skill, no matter what your industry is, whether you're a scientist, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an engineer, sales is one skill that if you learn, you can not only increase your take-home pay by at least 20 to 30%, but improve the life of you and your family and your loved ones. Mm-hmm. And yet it's a skill that's not taught in school. You learn it from experience. You learn it from watching The Passionate Few.
Hey.
You learn it from Grant Cardone. And others, and then I hope that Ed Milet and others,
Tony
and I hope
Robbins,
that, and of course Tony Robbins and other sales geniuses, and I hope that one day I'm able to give back and help people who are introverts That's my biggest challenge, to go out and get those selling skills.
From the legend Abby G.
Abby G, yeah. The selling machine, the Indian Grant Cardone.
I love it. Now, let's zoom in on that. What advice would you give for people, introvert or not? I know introverts probably struggle with it more,
right?
But what advice would you give for people who maybe are running their own business or side hustle and want to improve their sales skills, and maybe they're okay or decent or good, or maybe they suck, but they want to just get a little bit better? Do you recommend listening to sales training stuff, trying stuff, saying your price and staying quiet on the phone, right, so you don't get nervous, right? There's all these little nuances,
right?
But what are some quick general pieces of advice that you find more successful salespeople do than people who kind of struggle with sales?
So I love how you say it, because it used to irritate the crap out of me, is the golden silence. It's a gimmick where you're trying to sell something. I think in the core, if you actually want to help people, and if you're sincere about that, sales are going to come. But sales is one business that it's a numbers game, right? It's a law of averages. The phone does not just ring one way. It rings both ways. Sometimes you got to just do the work. You got to pick up the phone and you got to dial. In these cases, it used to be smile and dial. Now it's smile and email. So it's a numbers game. Just do the work and don't worry about the outcome. And if you're an introvert, it's tough because you're nervous. But I think you just got to muster that energy and go out and see some success. So any entrepreneurs out there who are introverts, in the fastest way.
Mention your KKFU.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm working on this really cool thing called KKFU, which is knock, knock, and follow up. So you got to knock, knock, and you got to follow up. No matter what business you're doing, you knock on more doors, right? But then it's also important to follow up, because you could have a great day knocking on doors, you get some leads, you get some prospects, but if you don't follow up, you're not going to be able to close the sale, especially now during the pandemic, where everybody's working from home. It's so easy to get distracted, right? You're on the email, your dog shows up, your kid shows up, you forget what you were doing. It happens to me all the time.
Of course, yeah.
So you have to make that extra effort of following up. And when you're doing that, you're giving a service to that other person. And why would, if I'm a customer and someone's following up with me and they're helping me solve a problem, why would I not give them my business?
Right.
The other thing that I learned, at a very early career was, don't let a yes slow you down, but also don't let a no slow you down. So obviously, we all talk about don't let a no slow you. It's the other way around. I apologize. It's don't let a no slow you down, but don't let a yes slow you down.
Right.
If you've got that momentum going, you keep at it. Obviously, there's lots of one-liners where they say, no is just the next opportunity. Which it really is. But sometimes when things are going good for you, pound it even more. Maximize that.
Yeah.
So don't let a no slow you down. Don't let a yes slow you down. It's a numbers game.
And Grant Cardone actually has a cool line. He said the best time to get a deal is right after you got the last one. Because a lot of people will get a deal or they get a check and they go out to dinner, they go celebrate, they get comfortable, they close one deal. But in reality, it's like, I heard him say that his goal was, once he gets a check, he doesn't spend it until he gets the next check.
That's
so that's permission for him to spend the last commission. So he's constantly earning the right to spend the last amount of money he earns. It's a little mental game.
Absolutely, and that's why Grant Cardone's the greatest, right? One of the greatest out there. And another thing that I think which has worked for me, it's for all the entrepreneurs out there, it's prospecting. Spend an hour a week prospecting for new business. Call it business development, call it cold calling, get uncomfortable, get used to being uncomfortable. But if you dedicate 1 hour a week, I promise you, you're gonna get at least 10 to 30% new business at the end of the year. Think about it, 1 hour a week in a 52-week year. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's 7 days a week, right? But if you spend 1 hour a week prospecting in your industry, you will find wonders. And then you can pass it on to your team. You can have your sales, because now you have yourself doing 1 hour a week, you have your sales team doing 1 hour a week. It all adds up. And at the end of the year, you will see that not only have you beaten your goals, you'll be looking to make a new budget. And I can tell you a whole new story about budgets. I love budgets. When I was working as a sales rep and someone said, hey, this is your budget, people have a very different thinking, this is your quota that you need to do. Most people's mentality is, well, that's a big number. Oh my God, that's a quota. But the way to think about it, and my wife taught me that, is, well, if I hit that number, that means I want to make more money for myself. So you got to change your way of thinking. I used to get excited when my managers would give me a sales budget. I'm like, let's do it. Here's your budget. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's 10x it. So you got to have that mentality. You got to have that attitude towards sales. And when you do that with experience, it helps you. And prospecting 1 hour a week is very helpful.
I love that. And a lot of people would actually be blown away to know that a lot of your guys' clients, although, for the sake of NDAs and privacy and stuff, we can't get into it. But a lot of these clients are huge. I mean, they're clients that really affect a lot of people. Can you maybe share one anecdote or maybe one way in which maybe you got a client that you were like, holy shit, I can't believe I just got them as a client? Because it came from something simple like making a cold call or knowing a guy or meeting someone in passing that turned into another opportunity.
Right.
Because a lot of opportunities are not like you're gonna, knock on the CEO's door and he's gonna say, hey, how can I help you, right? A lot of them happen from chance encounters, friend of a friend, a client knows somebody. So just, I guess, real world application at the scale that you guys are, playing. What's maybe a quick gem or two that you could impart to the audience?
So it's how I got into Tesla. I was on LinkedIn. I looked up some engineers and I sent them some emails. And my name is Khanna. So I sent an email requesting a meeting with an engineer. I'm guessing they assumed a tall blonde named Abby is walking up. So I got the meeting from a LinkedIn private message. A lot of times people don't check their emails, but they will check their LinkedIn Messenger. So I got really lucky getting a meeting with a senior engineer at Tesla by mentioning my name through LinkedIn. And I got the appointment. I remember when I showed up at the appointment, I walked up and the engineer looked at me and he kind of looked around and he's like, "You're Abby?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Abby." So they were probably expecting a tall Swedish blonde and walks in a 6'1" Indian. But it's a great example of how I use LinkedIn. And then of course we were fortunate enough to bring Tesla as a customer to that company.
Wow. And that was just you taking initiative to actually follow up on the message.
Just getting creative. And then another example is, I was doing one, when I started California Plastics, I had no option. I had no customers.
Yeah.
So I had to prospect. So I was prospecting not 1 hour a week, I was prospecting, 5 hours a day. And then I would go and deliver my materials and what have you. And I remember I'd send out an email, just a simple email, just to introduce my company. Here's what I do, here are the products I do. And I would try to send out at least 10 to 100 a day because it's a numbers game. Sales is a numbers game. And I send this email out and I go to Texas to go meet a customer. And I'm sitting at the lobby at the customer and this customer's making me wait. This was a confirmed meeting. It was a customer I knew from a previous experience with them. And I was sitting there and they made me wait for like 4 hours. So what do? I go on my laptop, open up, start sending emails. Lo and behold, while I'm waiting in the lobby, one customer calls me, and now it's one of our biggest customers in California Plastics, and we kind of 100x business with them. And I think, I don't want to get into the much numbers, but it's one of our biggest customers, which came as a direct result of me just sending out emails, introducing myself, and then just following up.
Yeah, and I love that you share that because it shows that at every scale, process is the same. Sales
it's the same.
Right.
No matter what you're selling, what product you're doing.
A lot of people could barely be making any money right now and think, oh, well, they have this company that's this big, so of course it's probably easy for them, clients come to them.
Right.
But the reality is, the entrepreneur making, $50,000 a year is the same prospecting as somebody making $50 million a year in their company, right? It's the same processes, just a different scale of clients, customers, and systems and teams.
Also, I would like to add something to that, what Abby said. I think as in general, we have this mentality of, oh, I have to do cooking, oh, I have to do paperwork, I have to do accounting. Instead of saying I have to do it, why don't we just change our statement by saying I get to do it?
Yeah, that changed my mindset.
When you
a lot.
change your mindset by saying I get to do it, it's an opportunity that you're getting to do it.
We get to start a company.
It changes your whole energy, whatever you're doing. I think we both have experienced that.
And we both, and absolutely. So when Bianca said that to me, that like I mentioned earlier, I'm not the biggest fan of driving. I don't think anybody is. But when I started thinking of, I got to go drive, meet that client for 2 hours, I get to go meet that drive and meet that client and get an opportunity. That really changes the whole perspective. And now I enjoy driving in my truck. I love making deliveries. We started off this company, California Plastics, with one delivery. Thousands of deliveries later now, we have drivers that we're grateful for who make our deliveries. But even now, you will catch me on the freeway with my Ford F-150 with a pallet of resin in the back or some mass in the back making a delivery because I just love doing it.
Yeah.
Because I get to do it.
Because you're one of the passionate few.
Because I'm one of the passionate few. That's right.
Very cool. And then also, I want to zoom in onto, we talked a lot about your guys' amazing story, the company, your advice in sales and business, both the lessons you guys learned from your journeys pursuing your dreams and passions. But I want to talk about relationships because I noticed you guys have such a great chemistry both on and off camera. What advice do you have for people, and maybe you guys can both chime in, for men and women around the world who maybe have big dreams and aspirations, and maybe they don't have the most support at home, and maybe they're in their 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or older, right? Love knows no limitations with age. But what advice do you guys have for people on how to find an effective significant other and partner so that you can really build a good team dynamic? What are important elements to be there and look for that you advise people on around the world?
I think a lot of patience. Part of being an entrepreneur and being married. Well, she's an entrepreneur. She's a co-founder, but then I call her the big boss, because not only does she run the business, but she runs our house. She takes care of our daughter, our dog Buddy, who we love a lot, and she's a homemaker and a businesswoman. So I think, and she knows that I'm out there. I'm passionate about my business. Why am I? You got to find your why. Everybody says that, and everybody has a different why. My why, I came from nothing. Came with $200. Bianca came from nothing, but I have a daughter, Bianca, and everything I do is to make sure that she has every opportunity that I did not have. So that's my why. Now, how do I do that? I have to go out and work, which is going to take time away from family.
Daughter, yeah.
So she is such a supportive wife, where she understands that she needs me to be me, so that we can provide and for what we want to do for our families. So I think you got to be really patient. You got to understand each other. You got to understand each other's goals, each other's passions. Bianca had to take a step back from her acting career, and sometimes you have to sacrifice, like she did. She had to sacrifice her acting career. Till date, she gets offers from India, but she decided to stay here, help us with the business, help us raise a family, and I have almost like that pressure to provide for her.
That's right.
Even though she doesn't ask for it.
Yeah.
But I want to do it. But you do that by just understanding and.
For me, I think it starts with respect. I should respect his goals and his dreams, and he should respect mine.
Right.
I think love does not exist if you don't have respect for each other. I think
true,
that's extremely important. I think I know when I met him, he's driven. No matter what you give him, tomorrow you give him a bottle of water and tell him to sell this, he's driven. He would sell,
Yeah, he's scaling a water spring.
Yeah, he would make sure that the product is everywhere. So I know that he's a go-getter. He's ambitious, and his dreams are big. My dreams are big too. I support in his dreams, whatever he's dreaming, because we have to be on the same page. Although there are some, you might feel that sometimes you're not in the same page, but how do we come to that,
Understanding.
And
I think it's
build a dream together
and
instead of his
together.
dream or her dream. It's
Exactly.
our dream.
And planning is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Like plan your 10 years down the line.
It's weird. It's almost like you want to I joke about this, but you almost want to be married to your complete opposite. I'm an extrovert. She's an introvert.
Yeah.
She's a planner. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You wing everything.
I'm OCD by nature.
She's
he's
OCD
not.
by nature. I'm all over. But then you also respect each other for those qualities and for the skills. So you love and respect each other, and you kind of. She's my yin to my yang. I'd like to say.
Yeah, you become one.
You become
Right.
one, and you become a
whole.
team. You become a team. So
Right,
that helps a lot.
and also to have that respect in the house for each other is extremely important. I know there are days where he would sleep at 12 a.m. at night, wake up at 4 a.m., so I hardly even get to see him, even my daughter. But then I know that he's doing his best. It makes him happy. I see him smiling, although he's working more than 12, 14, 15 hours, but he's smiling. There's a smile on his face.
I have fun. I don't work anymore.
That's important to us, because that's what's going to bring us positivity, good luck, whatever you believe in, whether you believe spiritually or, otherwise. So,
Yeah.
So I think
That's beautiful. And then one question I also wanted to ask before I forget is for people who are maybe, wondering like, man, I have my dreams and aspirations. Maybe they're, you guys are from India, but maybe they're from, the U.S., but maybe they don't come from a privileged situation, or maybe they're from, we have fans from all over the world we're so grateful for, but a lot of people kind of feel like, is it really possible for me, right? I'm sure as a kid, if someone would have told you that, hey, one day you'll have this company, multi-million-dollar company helping people around the world, or that you'd be in, dozens of films, it wouldn't have even been possible in your mind. And there's people around the world listening to this that might be the young versions of you who didn't know that it was possible for their life, even though it is. What advice do each of you have for people who want to pursue their dreams, pursue their passions, and maybe are boggled down by family or limiting beliefs, any of that? But if you could leave the world with one piece of wisdom each, what would it be about going for your dreams, no matter the obstacles?
Wow, that's a deep question, Omar,
Yes.
and thank you for asking that. I think personally for me, what made big changes for me was just reading, and the classics, Think and Grow Rich. Just having that clear thought, or The Secret. I believe if I can do it, anybody can do it. 385-pound guy comes to this country with $200, got this beautiful business, married to a beautiful actress. I'm proud, and you got to change the way you think, so, and you got to block out all the noise, put all the negativity, just block out all the negativity, and just be laser focused towards your dream. And anything is possible in this universe, but you got to think it first. And it's a great book would be Think and Grow Rich, or even The Secret, I think, which got me started. And then of course, there's so many, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. It changes, the way the system is, it challenges it, right? So, and it's tough because you're like, this is not what I learned. This is not what my parents do. So you got to be open to change. In our case, we had no option. We had nothing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people sometimes, they could be in America, they could be in another country, they could be from a privileged home, or they could be from middle class, or they could be from upper class, and they're struggling. So I think just changing the way you think can really change the way you see your life, and can really make a big change for yourself.
I love that. How about yourself, Bianca?
I think anybody who is successful, somewhere I believe that they've mentally, since they were as a kid, I'm sure they have so much power to attract good things in life. Mentally, they are already successful, and that's what made me, do 30 movies in India. For me, this idea of being in a glamour industry was it's impossible, because I came from a very conservative family, at the same time, not very well off family. So you don't have anything that's going to support you to go in movie industry. But somewhere down the line, I think subconsciously I was attracting those things.
Yeah, vision board.
Subconsciously,
You still have to.
And I believe, I swear by vision boards. Like if you dream of something, write it down in a piece of paper. Write it down every day. We go to bed writing down our dreams and goals every day, every night.
When I was even working for a company, I remember I had put an X amount of number at the beginning of the year, and that's the number I hit. It was close to $1. Mm-hmm. And then when we started our company in 2019, and then 2020 hit, the pandemic, I still had a number. I did not know I would be getting into PPE. Here the world is collapsing, but I kept looking at that number, and I'm proud to say we hit that number and beyond. But it's just writing those goals down, and then you just have a laser focus, and then the universe kind of. Yeah. It sounds really cheesy, but it kind of just makes a way to it.
It's so true, and I've seen that happen so many times, not only in my life, but the people we interview. Because you might have a goal, but you're thinking, I have to sell X amount of this at this, but then this opportunity happens over here that might give you the number easier. Right. But if you're so stuck on, no, it has to be this way, you'll miss this opportunity that would be way easier, way more profitable, way more whatever.
Absolutely.
So I love that, being consistent in outcome, but flexible in approach.
Yeah, that's where the planning comes in. That if you have a plan, what your goals are, then it becomes easy for you to, put into action.
It's so true, and circumstances come about in your life that seem coincidental.
Right.
But they're not.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I heard something pretty interesting. I've shared it on a podcast before, that the word coincidence actually, a lot of people think it means like haphazardly or accidentally. But coincidence actually comes from, basically, it means when something coincides. It's actually an intentional coincision. But most people in their life live as if it's random or assume it's random.
Right.
But that's why your friend who maybe connected you to the film industry, right, or the ad. Imagine that day with the wanted ad. If you had kept flipping the page instead of saying, you know what, screw it, let me call. Right. So all those little micro moments that end up shaping more of your life, then you're just predestined to have it.
Absolutely.
It's all those little moments. And I think if you're acutely aware of your goals and dreams, all those little moments that you go out, the little conversation, the little thing, the little initiative you take on the phone call, the follow, those things kind of compound, and pretty soon things pop.
Right. Yeah. And so it's kind of like if you put a specific number out there and you have laser focus, the universe is going to make up. Now you got to do the work. You got to do your prospecting. You got to make your emails. You got to make your phone calls. You got to follow up. Remember, knock knock and follow up. KKFU.
KKFU.
So coming soon.
Very cool. I love that. And any final words of wisdom for the audience, people around the world watching this? Before we wrap up, we always like to play a fun little game, so I'll ask you guys that. But before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom to people who maybe hear your story and go, wow, I want to go do something with my life. I'm fired up, I'm jazzed up.
Right.
Whether they get the masks from you guys or somewhere else.
Right.
Or they just take away from your story something powerful. What do you hope people really get from this interview and apply to their life once it's over?
I think that just the fact, as I think I mentioned earlier, like in 2020, humanity saw rock bottom, right? So we saw rock bottom in our career many times. She did when she was in school trying to be an actress.
Movies,
or she did it when she was in America, going from movie actress to being a sales rep to now running a company, or I did, whether it was working in gas stations or working at a strip club or working at a motel. You don't give up.
Great resume, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
That's why I married.
I bet every immigrant
Gas
job you think
choice.
of.
Gas station, strip club, motel.
Every immigrant,
Perfect
job you could think
And then boom, multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah.
It's like boom, boom, boom.
And so no matter what you do, there's only one way, and that's up. But you got to change your way of thinking, and then you just got to do the action and just have faith. So just work hard. Have a laser focus on your goals. And if you've lost your job during this pandemic, or if you've gotten fired, if you've gotten laid off, it's not the end of the world. We live in a great country. There's a lot of opportunity over here. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm not that smart, but I'm hardworking. I work hard. And if you're willing to work hard, and if you're laser focused on what you want to achieve, whether it's trying to improve the life of your family, whether it's selling masks to solve a problem, whether it's selling plastic pellets, whether it's selling gators, or whether it's being the best dad you want to be, or being the best coach you want to be, whatever you do, just do it with full sincerity and just work at it.
Beautiful. How about yourself, Bianca?
I think we all are in the situation where a little bit of faith and a little bit of worry has always has got into everyone. People with families, people with careers. Everything is so unfortunately in this situation. But just keep in mind that this is temporary. It's gonna get better, and I think when you have a positive chain of thought, then it's gonna get better and better. So just put a seed. What do you call it? Sow a seed.
Sow a seed.
Sow a seed, which is good, and it's going to bring good.
Yeah, I think what she's trying to say is block the negativity.
Yeah,
stay
because
positive.
I mean, I was paranoid initially watching news.
A lot of positive has happened during this pandemic. Like, if you really look at it, a lot of people have gotten to spend some quality time. If you've been laid off, well, maybe then that's not the job that you were supposed to be. Life happens for you.
Right.
So maybe you got to use this time to
nice.
use this time to go. I got my moments, once in a while. I've been watching too much of the Passion and Furious. So maybe it's time that you just, you want to reflect and see what you're good at, or read a book and, find a new hobby that may turn into a business, or just go out and help people like we're doing.
That's beautiful. Now, before we wrap up here, we always play a fun little game called First Things First. So the way the game works is I'm going to rifle off a quick word or phrase, and you guys are just going to tell me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. So I'll go with Bianca first, and then we'll do you.
Do we get a hamper or something after that we win?
You get a mask.
You get a mask, yeah. I know a company. Okay, word number one. You ready? Mm-hmm. Abby.
Love.
Your past.
Experienced.
How to overcome limiting beliefs. For example, the limiting beliefs you may have had growing up in India, or even with the company, and then going on to be in films and having success with the company. Just the threat of limiting beliefs of, I can't do that, I'm not good enough. Right. How to get over that for people?
Belief in destiny, I would say.
The best decision you ever made?
Marrying him.
The worst advice you've ever received?
Don't marry him.
The best advice you've ever received?
That you'll be a great mother.
Why you guys named your daughter Bianca?
Because we love each other that much.
Jeez,
Abhimanyu and
can I say that?
Bianca.
Yeah, I think when we thought about that, so her name is Bianca. My name is Abhimanyu, short for Abby, and Bianca. And it was funny because there was just one word we thought of, is Bianca, because she's the best of both of us, and that's what, and she really is. we love our daughter. She is the best of me and best of her.
She's
That's
3-year-old, and she goes to my husband and she says, "Papa, thank you for working so hard." And
Yeah,
she
it's
gives me kisses.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It is so easy for me to wake up at 4 a.m. when I get that.
Yeah,
It's,
the
I love it.
motivation.
The motivation
Yeah,
is
yeah,
there. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And a dog buddy. We love
Yeah,
him too.
he's cool.
It's just cool.
Buddy G.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have 3 more before we wrap up. Your advice to mothers and fathers out there who are going to send their kids back into the world, give or take whenever with this pandemic, how they can navigate and handle things a little bit more calm, a little bit more cool, and a little bit more intelligently.
I think just like everybody else, wash your hands, wear a mask, stay away from crowded places. But at the same time, keep them engaged. Right now, I have a 3-year-old and I have to find ways to keep her engaged. She has a lot of energy, so obviously we want to make sure that they're mentally stimulated, also learning some new stuff. So I've put in a lot of dance schools and online Zoom classes.
Yeah.
So she's been learning
Keeping her
with
busy.
that and keeping her busy, and also talking to her about what the current situation is, so she's aware of what's going on. Because tomorrow, if she goes to school, she's going to be like, I wasn't prepared for this.
Yes.
So I think talking to your kids is important, and I talk to her like I'm talking to Abby. So it's important to keep that
Yeah, he talks to her like an
communication.
adult. So.
Yeah, build that good relationship. And then the last one I have for you is when you look back at your guys' legacy and what you've done in life overall, what do you hope people can take away from not only this interview, but your story overall for being on this
Oh,
planet?
we haven't even started, but thank you for saying that. I think it's important to be on the same page. If you're passionate about something, follow your dreams, because I know he was working for a company for such a long time, and it took us time to come to this stage of entrepreneurship. And I remember telling him, I was like, if you don't do it now, it's never. And take that first step, because it's important to take that first step. I think a lot of people say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. If it's workout, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, which I did in the past. I think now after my pregnancy, I've started to getting back to fitness, and I say, no, I'm going to do it today. Even if it's 20 minutes, I'm going to do it today, right now, whatever I can. And that mentality is very important. Just do it right now.
Yeah, taking the first step. They say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with
One
a single
step.
step.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Beautiful. All right, Abby, now yourself. You ready?
I'm excited.
All right, cool.
Do you know how many times I've seen you play this game? And how many times I've prepared this in my mind,
Yeah.
and I know I'm going to mess it up, so let's go.
The only rule is that you can't repeat yourself twice. Remember the rule.
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
But I did
Yeah.
great.
But you did a good job.
You're a
did perfect.
professional.
Yeah. All right. First word, money.
Resource.
Second, your best advice to the young Abby who is living in his car thinking, man, what the heck am I going to do with my life?
Just don't give up.
The best advice you've ever received.
Now, I've received a lot of bad advice. I got to think about that.
All right, we'll switch it to the worst advice you've ever received. That comes to mind.
Don't start a business.
Yes, that's a big one.
Or don't name your company California Plastics.
Yeah. Which probably ended up being one of the best decisions you ever
Best
made.
decision ever made.
Bianca.
Love. Everything.
Oh,
The key to losing weight when you were 385 pounds.
Bianca.
yes. I made sure he didn't get to eat any breakfast.
No, it's not. I think I was at a point, and again, can I just share the story?
Of course.
So I was at a point where, I was 385 pounds, and we went to the Beverly Hills Clinic, and I was about to get the lap band surgery. And I was sitting there going, wow, I've accomplished a lot of things in my life. I think I got this. And Bianca gave me the confidence. She was like, I don't think you want to go through with the surgery. And even that doctor said, no, go lose some weight. And I remember I started walking, every journey starts with a single step. And we lived in Hollywood, and I would walk for just miles. And that went into running, jogging, running. So I think it was just taking that first step, and then having a persistent wife till date who
We've
watches.
had some serious
Right.
showdown.
Yeah.
And she has a
The
lot of
weight loss
energy,
journey.
so God bless her. I think 100 pounds just came off just from being scared of Bianca, what she's going to do. Literally. So you got to have that support system. Everybody needs help. I got my help right here. Out of weight surgery.
Whiplash.
Yeah. Your best advice to entrepreneurs when looking for a significant other to support their dreams?
Just find someone who is compatible, who understands where you're trying to be. Have that conversation with them, and just be open with what your goals are upfront, rather than waiting when you're in a relationship. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you know.
Yeah. And California Plastics and this new initiative with Active Protect and these masks. It's the first word, phrase, concept, tangent, inspirational thing.
Be
that comes to
human.
mind.
You know,
Be kind.
be human. Our motto is be human. Be human to everybody who comes in your way, whether it's your customer, whether it's your supplier, whether you're answering the phone, whether you're making a delivery. And now so grateful with Active Protect, where we're actually be able to help slow the spread by filling this void in the supply chain of PPE. So just to be human to each other. And I think the world needs that, where we all have our politics and we all have our beliefs, and that's okay. But remember, if you look back at history, it was all about divide and rule, right? No matter what it was. I think India was ruled by the British for over 200 years, and their number one philosophy was divide and rule. They separated India between the Hindus and the Muslims. And I think, not to get too political, but I think that's what's going on right now, where everybody's either in one way or the other, and people are forgetting to just be human. We're just human to each other.
Compassionate.
And be compassionate, just like our motto. I think the world's going to be a better place.
Number 9, passion.
You.
Limitless.
Yeah.
Beautiful word. It says a lot. It says a lot. And then the last one, you ready? What you hope people around the world listening to your story get from, I know you've got so much more you want to do with your life, but what you hope Abby's life on this planet is all about.
To be able to serve and give back.
Yeah.
And help the people who haven't had the opportunities, who are in positions like Bianca and I want. So to become that powerful, that to then be able to go provide and help others. We're just starting off, but what drives us is, of course, to have a better future for our family, but also to be able to give back, to be able to provide things for people, and just to be able to help people who've been in similar situations. And
Like we have, yeah.
and I love how you support Feeding America, right?
Correct,
Such a great
yes.
charity. When I was broke and homeless, I know that feeling of being hungry, right? And then now we're so blessed and so fortunate. I think in December, we went and bought out lunch for, in one case, an entire plant for Panera Bread, and shout out Panera Bread, they're a great company. And just be able to provide food for whether it's our team members, whether it's just surprising our customers, but just to be able to go buy somebody a lunch. It's such a great feeling. It feels so good,
Yes.
especially when you've been hungry. So we're so grateful that through our business we're able to
And even
give
food
back.
donations.
And even
That's
donations
good.
that we do, absolutely.
Very cool. You guys are literally a living example of what it means to serve. Even when you guys had nothing, you guys were giving everything from yourself. And now that blessings are coming your way, you guys are serving people, protecting people. And I love how it's constantly a theme of like, what's next?
Right.
What's next? We also want to do this, we want to do that. So that theme is nonstop. Any other final words of inspiration or gratitude that you guys would like to share with our audience?
No,
Or your teams back home or anything?
we just thank you everybody who's made this journey so far
Possible.
with California Plastics. Thank you Ascend Performance Materials for making this great product. Thank you all our suppliers. Thank you all our customers.
And thanks, Omar.
Thank you,
for
Omar.
Yes.
doing this
Thank
interview.
you. This great
so
team we
that
have over
this
here.
Great technology
Yeah.
can be out in public and people can,
Yeah.
get access to that.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. And for those of you at home watching who enjoyed this story, want to rewatch it or check out highlight clips, follow Abby and California Plastics in the description below. And also, don't forget, I personally back these Active Protect masks. We wear them ourselves. The whole team has them on right now behind you guys. If you guys want to get these, you can check out the description below and enter coupon code PASSION for 10% off. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're going to get masks anyway, so they might as well be the best that you can affordably get and have last. All right, guys, thank you so much for enjoying this episode. Until next time, live strong, live with passion, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for enjoying this video. And if you found this content valuable, uplifting, and inspiring to take your life and your business to the next level,
and I have some exciting news for you because the Passionate Few Academy officially launched our brand new on-demand training that you can access absolutely free at www.tpfacademy.com. Right there, you'll learn the #1 way to grow your personal brand or business brand online fast. The same way I've learned from interviewing some of the most successful people on the planet right here on the show who've done exactly that. So again, don't forget to check it out, www.tpfacademy.com. I promise you'll be blown away. And also, don't forget, there's 3 ways you can connect with me further. #1, you can text me absolutely free at the number on the screen right now and send me your most pressing life, business, or branding question, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. #2, if you'd like to be interviewed on the show, you can actually apply right now in the description below and apply to share your incredible story, brand, or business right here with an audience of potentially millions of people, the same way we've helped experts, entrepreneurs, and authors just like you. And don't forget, that opportunity comes with the ability to partner with us and help feed 1 million people through our partnership with Feeding America. Again, you can click the link in the description below titled Interview Application to find out more. And last but not least, #3, if you'd like to get consulting from our team and work with you to help you grow your personal brand or business brand, no matter what industry you're in, we can do that by simply filling out the questionnaire in the description below titled Consulting Application. And if our team thinks that you'd be a great fit, who knows, you may just be invited to work with us to help you take your business to the next level. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for enjoying this video. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, turn on post notifications so you never miss an episode. And until next time, live strong, live with passion, and I'll see you in the next inspiring video.